Hi, everybody. This is Liam Martin yet again, and I am yet again back in your ears and or in your face or eyeballs or either of those particular things. I'm really excited to be able to talk with Jose today from HireHoratio.com. I think that Jose's got a really interesting perspective towards culture that is probably going to be quite counterintuitive to the vast majority of the people that are familiar with the BPO industry. So it was cool to be able to have a chat with him in the pre-interview and then also bring it up for you guys right now. Jose, thank you for being on the podcast. Really excited to be able to talk a little bit more about culture.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So first question that I have for you is, what does your company actually do? So I took a look at hirehoratio.com, and by the way, you've got one of the coolest BPO names I think I've ever seen. And I've interviewed a lot of BPO founders. The actual term I was telling you in the pre-interview, it's like, oh, it feels very Shakespearean. And you were like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Can you explain the company name?
Yeah, definitely. So, Horatio is a customer experience outsourcing firm, as you mentioned, working with fast growth startups. And so, when we started the business, we noticed that there were a lot of companies, particularly within e-commerce, fintech, and healthcare, that needed a trusted partner to help them scale their customer support, but also understand like which technology would best benefit them and how they can integrate that to provide an amazing customer experience. And so, we came up with the name Horatio because that was Hamlet's only trusted friend in the Shakespeare play, and we wanted to have that connection that we are that trusted partner to some of the fastest growing startups in the US. And so what we do is that we help our clients identify the pain points that they have around customer experience and any other outsourcing needs that they have, and integrate the latest technologies, whether it's AI or any new tech stack that we are exploring at the moment, to make sure that we are elevating their customer experience overall, and that they understand that they have a trusted partner on the other side that can really scale with them as their business evolves and grows.
Now you said the trigger word there, AI. A lot of BPOs are quite scared of AI. You said that you're working with companies to be able to really see how you integrate. How do you do that?
Yeah, so we have a lot of partners on the AI side to make sure that we're understanding where can AI play a good role within CX. We have seen some use cases where it actually is not there yet. Where we have seen a lot of traction and a lot of success is on the QA side of things. Now we're able to, with some of our partners, elevate the CX experience for our clients by integrating QA on the AI side of things and making sure that we're auditing most of the interactions that come through, leveraging AI and making sure that our team is more efficient. On the traditional customer support side with AI bots and things like that, we have been using that previously before ChatGPT came out. Again, it's as good as your playbook is updated and your policies and procedures are updated. So we do leverage AI bots and other technologies that can enhance the experience. But there's a point where obviously we incorporate the human interactions to make sure that we are, exceeding expectations for the customers that are coming through our doors.
Okay, wow, that's very interesting. So, how many years has the company been in operation?
So we founded the company in early 2019. We are headquartered in New York, but our offices are in the Dominican Republic and Colombia. We started the business, very
In the worst
slowly.
possible time possible, like 20,
Yes,
late 2019. Sounds
early
like you started
2019.
it. Oh, early. Okay,
Early
so you started in
2019.
2019, and then you got kicked in the face uh,
Correct.
in 2020. Yeah, how did that
Yep.
go?
It was a great experience. We learned a lot. We luckily were able to overcome a lot of the difficulties that we had early on. And, within 2 months, our business really took off because a lot of our clients were more in the e-commerce space. As you know, everyone started to buy online, and that
Right.
really allowed us to build a solid team around our customer base. And so that was ultimately, the catalyst for the growth post that slump that we had in 2020.
So in 2019, how big were you? How many employees did you have in your organization in comparison to now?
In 2019, we had a team of 30 people. And now we have a team of 1,600 between
Wow.
Colombia and the DR.
So how'd you do that? How did you start a business in quite literally the most difficult time in probably the last 50 years to be able to start a business and go from 30 reps to 1,600 reps in 3 years?
Something that we talked about is our mission earlier on. And I think that our mission is very different to the traditional BPO mission. Our mission is actually the fact that we believe that happy employees lead to better customer experience. And
Mm.
that ultimately leads to happy clients and customers. And so our goal is to make sure that we build an amazing employee experience to allow our employees to grow, whether it's knowledge wise or skill wise, and making sure that they're advancing their career. And so we have a vested interest in our employees' career growth and success, and most importantly, their happiness. And so we've built a culture that is very unique and that centers around the employee experience, which ultimately leads to an amazing customer experience for our clients. And that is really the secret sauce that has allowed us to grow very, very fast. Our clients really trust us. They respect their team. We build dedicated teams for every client that we work with, so we don't share resources between clients. That allows us to be a true extension of the clients that we work with, and we are the subject matter experts. So when there's an issue, we are not shy to raise our voices and say, hey, we're identifying this issue. You guys should look at that. And that really has won the trust from our clients. And the majority of our growth has come from client referrals, to be honest. We have done very
Hmm.
little on the marketing side.
Do you know what your ratio is of clients that were directly referred versus like new acquisitions that you've gotten on an outbound direction?
I would say I would say close to 90% is a combination of client referrals and our network.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's pretty awesome to be able to have
Yeah.
a business that just grows itself based off of happy customers.
Yeah. And I think, kudos to the team on the ground that is crushing it on behalf of our clients. I mean, we stole the philosophy from the Japanese word kaizen, which means continuous improvement or change for the better. And so we're striving to be better for our clients each and every day. And I think that when you walk into our offices, you feel that energy and you feel that we are different. And
Mm.
so, what we instill in our culture is that every single employee in the organization has the responsibility that they are constantly improving in whatever way they can. So we are a family that at its core is built entirely on teamwork. We like to support each other, and we like to make sure that our clients understand that they're also part of our family and that we are invested in their success as well.
So how do you measure that? Because I hear a lot of people talking about the philosophies that you've just mentioned, but it's what I'm not trying what's difficult for me to connect with is how do you build the feedback loop? So how do they on their quarterly 360 review say, "Hey, you haven't done enough growing this quarter. You need to be able to invest in other aspects of your personal career growth in order to be able to succeed here."
Yes, so we do it in a number of ways. Obviously, we have the traditional quarterly employee survey where we measure ENPS, which, by the way, for us, it's extremely high. It's close to 80 at the moment.
Wow.
We also measure in attrition. Our voluntary attrition monthly is less than 1.4% at the moment, so it's
Wow.
extremely low. And the other thing that we do is we also have weekly feedback sessions with our clients. So every team has a weekly feedback sessions with the clients where they provide measurable and standardized and repeatable KPIs, and we adapt those depending on what the client's needs are. And so
Okay.
that is we've also invested a lot on technology on the dash on the business analytics aspect of the organization,
Mm-hmm.
where we build a dedicated dashboard for all of our clients. And during the onboarding process, our customer success and business analytics teams meet with our clients and ask them, hey, what do you guys care about? What do you guys want out of this partnership, right? We obviously understand that there's a traditional metrics, right? First response time and all that stuff. But what do you guys actually want to get out of the partnership, and what is important for you? And time again, when we hear from them is, you know, we don't really care about first response time. We want to make sure that the interactions are of high quality. So quality is a big piece of the equation, but also we don't want to miss on valuable client feedback. And so we really
Okay.
build out a robust tagging and systems so that we can understand on a granular level what is going on with the business and what can the business do to improve constantly so that the customer service inquiries don't come back to us time and time again. And
So would
so
it be customer NPS that's your North Star, or would it be like the amount of information coming back from
it's the amount of
customers?
information coming back from it.
Okay.
Customer NPS is a good metric, but the majority of the time, we see that the customer NPS score is something that you have to take with a grain of salt because overall what you really care about is, are you retaining customers? Are they coming back?
Sure.
And if not, why? What can you do to make sure they come back? And so that's what we focus on retention and client satisfaction.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. That's very interesting because to me, that is definitely not the stereotypical response from
Yeah, I mean, you
people.
can have what good does it make to have an amazing NPS score if your revenue and your sales are not there, and your
Sure.
customers are not coming back, and you have a high churn rate? Like, it's irrelevant, right? At the end of the day, what a brand or a company cares about is, are my customers staying and are they buying more from me? And that
Yeah.
is what we focus on at Horatio.
Okay. Yeah. That's very, very cool.
And it's a
Um,
natural byproduct of the NPS.
sure. So your perspective is that if you had to choose one metric to optimize, would it be MPS or would it be something else? I'm just thinking about like if what's the dashboard that you look at every single morning and you're like, oh, this number's got to be up and to the right.
Yeah, retention is the most important thing that we look at,
Okay.
and churn.
Very difficult to be able to measure that week over week, though. I'm assuming it's probably more like a monthly or quarterly type of number.
We measure it week over week because we can also see, like, if there was something that happened with the website or a particular product that affected that number, then
Mm-hmm.
the brand can quickly fix it so we don't have to wait until the end of the month to see that number. So we actually want to look at that regularly so we can act quickly and the brand
Okay.
doesn't realize at the end of the month, oh, my retention rate decreased because of this issue with the checkout, right? So it's
Right.
very important to have an open feedback loop with your client.
And do you start with just one rep with a client? Is it like where's the sweet spot in terms of you servicing your customers?
Yeah, so we have a team minimum size of five. So that's four
Okay.
agents and one team lead. So that
Yeah.
is the minimum team size that we start. And so we do have plans to launch a program in Q1 that is going to allow us to work with smaller clients. But at the moment, our minimum is a team of five.
And you never worked with smaller clients before. It was just a team minimum of five.
What when we started the business, we had no minimums, obviously, but as we
Okay.
continue to grow, and because of our model that is 100% dedicated, it's been a challenge to service smaller clients.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. No. The reason why I ask is it seems to be a bit of a black hole for a lot of customers, or sorry, a lot of BPOs that just okay, let's work with you on one rep, but then you're not really qualifying that person, and does that person actually have the sticking rate that you're really looking for long term? I'm surprised to hear you saying that you're trying to go and try that again in 2024. Do you have a different strategy with regards to approaching that market?
Yeah, I think there are some clients that are just getting started and they need help.
Hmm.
They need help setting up their infrastructure. They need help understanding like what technology works for them at their stage. They need help figuring out what are the right policies and procedures. And so, we don't want to miss out on that opportunity of meeting a client early on that is going to have potential for growth. And so that's why we're figuring out what is the right initiative to not miss out on that opportunity
Hmm. Yeah.
without compromising on quality.
Could pay off huge, could also
Exactly.
not.
Yeah, it's like the
That's like,
VC.
well, yeah, one of those things that you got to kind of work on. It'll be very interesting to maybe we can have you back in a year to be
Yeah,
able to see where you're at.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the mission, vision, values. You said that that's your core differentiator, and I can totally see if the North Star being MPS and information back to the customer probably produces a really fantastic feedback loop. are there any customers that you don't work with? Like if a customer is saying, "Hey, our our goal is to get average handle time as low as humanly possible," is that something that you guys go with? And you're not, are you, you're not a seat leaser. You're basically that rep that works under you works exclusively for that client, correct?
Yeah, this is what I
Yeah.
tell everyone that I talk to that wants to work with us.
Okay.
If the only thing you care about is butts in seats, we're not the right partner for you. If you want a thought partner that actually takes whatever you have, as much as you think it's perfect, and enhances it and makes sure that it constantly changes and evolves, and you want value out of the relationship, then we are the right partner. And so
Okay.
there are two types of people, there are two types of clients. And so we go for the clients that really appreciate the partnership and the value that we bring to the table, as opposed
Uh-huh.
to the clients that only care about butts in seats. They don't really care about the culture, they don't really care about metrics and things like that. And so, the clients that we work with that have been the most successful are the ones that are truly embedded within our culture and that really value their team
Mm.
and appreciates them. The majority of our clients, I would say all of them, treats their Horatio team as a true extension of their organization. They come and visit them on site multiple times a year. They send them gifts and swags, and they provide incentives for amazing performance. And so it's a real partnership, and they really care about the people that are behind the interactions.
Are there any customers that you've had to fire during that process? Maybe you initially think, "Oh yeah, this is a great fit," and then realize, "Oh, it's not the fit that we thought it was going to be."
Yeah, definitely. All the we have to do it, and at the end of the day, what we realized, obviously, early on when we started the company, we were afraid of making those decisions,
Yeah.
but time by time again, we have proven ourselves that you know if there is a mismatch culture wise, we need to cut ties sooner rather than later, because that's obviously not going to be a long term partnership. And at the end of the day, what we want to establish is long term partnerships. I mean, we have been
How do
doing
you
this for.
determine that? Because it would be very, I'd love to have everyone kind of listen in on your process for that. Like, what's that? Because I can tell you a perfect example was I had a client maybe about 6 or 7 years ago for a two-sided marketplace that I was running. And I remember this person was just really abusive towards the staff. And I jumped
Yeah.
onto a 1 hour call with this person, and they were telling me about how, well, this person didn't, in this task took them an hour and 28 minutes, and it should have actually taken them an hour and 16 minutes. And it's just like super granular stuff like that. And I ended the call saying, listen, I'll just refund you for the last month of whatever we're doing, and we're just going to move on. Right. And I
Mhm.
remember this person just was in a state of shock. And we actually got some really bad reviews from that person long term, which we were actually able to respond to right inside of the Glassdoor stuff and all that kind of stuff that you usually get negative or positive reviews on. And it ended up being a net positive for us because we were able to show that we were firing this person because they were just a toxic partner. Any of those stories pop up
Yeah,
for you? Any particular story that you can share?
it's a similar story time and time again. This has happened to us 4 times already, where
Okay.
the the person in charge of the relationship mis doesn't treat the staff in the right way,
Mm-hmm.
and typically what we do is we escalate it immediately to the head,
Mm-hmm.
and the 100% of the times that this has happened, there is a precedent, and the company takes immediate action, apologizes
Mm.
to us, and we were able to continue working together. And so what I would stress to everyone on both sides is make sure you treat people with respect and dignity, no matter how frustrated you are. There's no need to yell at someone that is just doing their job and trying their best. And when we are dealing with customer service, you know, we're humans, right? We're going to have issues. People are going to reach out to us, and they're not reaching out to you to say how great of a job you're doing. They're
Right.
typically reaching out because they have an issue and they need help. And so we need to understand that agents are dealing with a lot of issues day in and day out, and they're problem solvers. And if they don't solve a problem one day, it doesn't mean you have to take it out on them, right? And so that's what we typically focus on, is making sure that there is respect on both sides and that the clients that we work with understand that.
I love that. 5 years from now, where is Hire Horatio? Since you're the CEO of the company and you're building that picture, where's your 5 year vision of where the company is?
Yes, we have a lot of plans in the horizon. I think that we started doing customer service primarily for e-commerce. We've since expanded into other industries. Now we have clients in the fintech, healthcare, and traditional tech space. Within fintech, we also expanded our service offerings. So we also do KYC, AML compliance, account opening for some of these fintech companies. That is a really cool line of business that we,
Yeah.
stumbled
Cool
upon.
niche.
And yeah, and the other line of business that we see ourselves getting into more and more is in trust and safety and content moderation work. As you see, we're having a lot of issues with social media nowadays, and there's going to be a big need for that. And so we are starting to grow in that space. So I think, long-term vision is to be a fully fledged business process outsourcing, not as much a niche player anymore, and be able to offer broad capabilities for our clients. Our motto at Horatio is, do what you do best and hire Horatio to do the rest. And so we're tasked with figuring out how we can make sure we are delivering value to our clients and expanding our offerings, depending on the needs of the clients. Like last year, we had a client come up to us and say, "Hey, I'm struggling to find graphic designers. Can you guys do graphic design work?" And now we've done graphic design work from a bunch of clients now. And so I see us expanding into other industries and service lines, and going from there.
Do you see yourselves remaining in the Americas or expanding out to Asia, Europe, those markets?
For now, our value proposition is rooted in the Americas. I'm
Okay.
originally from the Dominican Republic, which is where we have our main operation. And now that we're in Colombia, we have a team of about 120 people there now. We launched the operation there in 6 months. Super happy that they were able to adapt to the Croatian culture very well. And so, what we are trying to focus on is making sure that we continue being a player near shore. And as I mentioned, there is a market for everyone. There are people that like offshore versus near shore versus onshore, and so we've become a very strong player within the near shore space. And we believe that the quality that you get near shore is superior than whatever you would get offshore.
Yeah. If anyone else agrees or disagrees with that, please let us know. I think there's kind of like you've got both sides of it. You've got, and it's really just a cost versus quality equation. But I think what you're
Yep.
saying is we're optimizing for quality, and we're not optimizing really for like we're a quality BPO as opposed to a cost effective BPO, and we want to be able to provide that type of a product. Like you're doing a MacBook versus a PC. I don't know. I use all Macs, so I don't know what the heck
Exactly, and we have
the
we have done a
top.
lot of we have done a lot of transitions from the Philippines to Horatio because of
Okay.
that. The
Oh,
clients typically went for cost savings and realized that the quality wasn't there, and they actually needed the quality. And so we did the transition. There are certain scenarios where we also share with a BPO in the Philippines, right? They use the Philippines for other tasks, and they use Horatio for tier 2 support, for example. And so,
interesting.
we are happy to collaborate with other partners in the space to make sure that we are delivering value there.
Is there any strong signal that you've gotten from, let's say, someone that wasn't happy with their reps in the Philippines and coming to you guys? Like, is there anything that kind of jumps to the top of your mind in terms of the major reasons why they they leave the Philippines and then they go to the Americas?
Very high turnover rate,
Okay.
lack of cultural understanding of the product or service,
Mm-hmm.
lack of productivity or feedback loop to the point, culturally, I think that we're more proactive in the way that we communicate with our clients. I think
Sure.
culturally in Asia, they're a little bit more reserved and shy, and that doesn't translate well. And also, the other thing that we're seeing is the accent.
Mm.
Is a barrier for a lot of people, and so there is that. benefit that you get from working with a nearshore partner like Horatio, where in the Dominican Republic most people have a very strong cultural affinity to the U.S. and
Sure.
they're for the most part accent neutral, and so that really plays into our advantage. And
Well,
the
and
other
also
thing is
too,
the time zone, obviously, because when
yeah,
you're dealing with US companies, if there's an issue going on, it's very easy to solve it when you have a partner that is in your same time zone.
they'll also tell you when you're wrong in the Americas. Whereas in the Philippines, there's a really great chapter from Freakonomics which studied airline companies and identified that Southeast Asian airline companies had a crash rate that was way, way higher than anyone else. So an emergency crash rate, emergency situations, all this kind of stuff. And they were trying to figure out what the cause was because the actual specs of the aircraft were significantly higher. The checks that they were doing, they were more secure aircraft, and they actually realized they brought some sociologists in and they started studying the interdynamics between the co-pilot and the pilot. And when the pilot would do something wrong, the co-pilot wouldn't tell the pilot that they're doing something wrong. So they didn't have that perspective of saying, I need to tell you when your manager is not doing the right job, you need to speak up and say that. And I think it's one of the biggest problems that you see with particularly Filipino
Yep.
culture or labor, I guess you could call it, not culture, the labor relationship between the Philippines and the United States, just as an example, is that lack of communication and critique of managers, which Hire Horatio, I know because we deal with a lot of people in South America. Those team members have no problem with actually saying, you're wrong and here's why. And
Yep.
that's actually the feedback that you need as a manager half the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. All right, so I've got a couple relatively quick hit questions here that I'd love for you to answer, and you can take as long as you want to answer these. But what I would love for you to do is when I ask you these questions, give me the real answer. Give me the answer in your head that you came up with first, not the one that
Hmm.
comes up in your head and you're like, oh, I can't tell Liam that one. That's I
Okay,
want
I'll
the one that
try.
you're like, oh, I can't tell him that one. Please, I would love it if you could tell me that one. All
Cool.
right. So, first question that I have for you is what counterintuitive advice would you give to other BPO founders to see the kind of growth that you've had over the last 3 years? So, what counterintuitive advice would you give other BPO founders to hit the type of numbers that you did in the last 3 years?
Really invest in the culture and prioritize your people. Ultimately, that is the advice that I would give any potential founder in our
Do you
space,
feel
because
like,
it's a human business.
yeah, sure. Um, do you feel like that would work in all places? Just to kind of push back on that, maybe that doesn't work in the Philippines, or maybe that doesn't work in India, or do you think that it works in all markets?
I think it works in all markets because if you don't prioritize your people, then you're going to have an insane turnover rate, and that really affects your bottom line. I mean, recruiting costs and training costs are very high in our
Right.
industry, and so it's very important to make sure that your retention rate is very strong. And
Mm.
it may not work for every BPO founder because some BPO founders may focus on a line of business that is a little bit harder to prioritize that, but that is something that has worked for us. And I think if you look at our peer group, it works for the people that do it.
Right. No, that makes sense. Next question. What's your biggest mistake you made in your business?
Biggest mistake.
You've got that one in your head. You're like, oh, I can't
I
tell them that
think
one. That's the one I want to hear.
I think our biggest, I guess it would be a mistake, but it's mostly around physical space. Like we underestimated how fast we were going to grow, and so we didn't have the capacity to absorb the growth of the business because we didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the right real estate in place.
Okay.
And it's scary when you're a bootstrapped organization. You're starting to invest in real estate upfront because the fear is, am I going to be able to fill it this space? And so that's something that we struggled with early on because we were
Did you not
constantly
have
having
some of your
to.
reps working remotely or from home during that time? No,
No.
not even during
We had
2020?
During 2020 we had to go remote, and that's, I would say, what saved us during that interim period of growth.
Okay.
But the majority of our clients um, require our teammates to be in the office,
Okay.
and we do have some brands where we do hybrid,
Hmm.
uh, 3 times a day from home, 2 times a day at the
Okay.
office, and so that has worked well. But like the fintech regulated companies, the healthcare companies, you have to be in
Sure.
the
You've got to
office.
be PCI or SOC 2 compliant, which is a
Exactly.
huge requirement. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And so that's why we have to be in the office. And, the majority of our team members love coming to the office because of the work environment that we built. We don't have any cubicles in our office, which is not the typical setup for a BPO.
Hmm.
We believe in collaboration, so everyone sits around in tables with their teammates to exchange ideas and feedback. We've invested a lot in noise canceling technology for those that need to be on the phone. We've also provided amazing benefits to our teammates. We provide breakfast, lunch, dinner. We have an on-site
Ooh.
gym, daycare for working parents. We also provide Pilates, yoga, dance classes for those employees that want to keep an active lifestyle. We also have invested in learning and development initiatives. We have an on-site um, mental health experts that are available at no cost to our employees. And so we've very much invested in our people and make sure that they understand that they're valued and appreciated, and that when they come to the office, they're taken care of. They don't have to think about, getting food or snacks or anything like that.
I'm ready to sign up. You had me at like gym, and then you added 17 more things on top of that. That's amazing. That's what you mean when you're talking about investing in your people, right? It's like
Yeah.
providing all of these resources. You've got your Zumba class at 4 p.m., then you can talk to your therapist at 5, and then maybe you do a night shift as an example right after that. Like that sounds amazing.
Yeah, and we've also built a community as well. So if you're interested in music, we have a music club that meets there. If you're
Okay.
interested in gaming clubs, we also have gaming rooms in the office so that you can do challenges and things like that. So we've really thought about what is important to our employees and what is it that they really care about. And then also, I would say that the thing that we are constantly monitoring is, do they value those perks? Do they care
Mm.
about them? And so that's what we get out of the quarterly surveys that we look into. That is very important for us to understand, like, what is it that they care about and how can we continue delivering on our promise to be an employee centric organization.
Mm. What's the biggest thing stopping you from getting to the next level in your business?
I think we've honestly grown very fast.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't say, I would say that we're blessed to be able to be in the spot that we are compared to our peers. We're recently named one of Inc.'s 5,000 fastest growing companies in America,
Hmm.
ranking 107. So we are growing very very fast, and so I think we've invested a lot in making sure that we can meet our clients' expectations, and we have very strong uh, growth projections for next year. So for now, knock on wood, we have been blessed that we are able to be in this spot, and we hope to continue delivering value for our clients so we can continue to grow.
Where do you think you'll be in 5 years? I mean, is that 100,000 seats? Is that 50,000 seats? What are you thinking about?
I'm very conservative, so I don't think we're gonna be there. I'd rather grow at a moderate pace and be able to meet the demands of our clients without sacrificing our culture.
Hmm.
Part of the reason why I was so concerned about growing and opening into another market as we did in Colombia was being able to translate our culture to a different market, and luckily we were able to do that. But I think it's very important for us to maintain our culture and have the right balance of growth. So I think, hopefully, I'll be happy we're at 10,000 seats in 5 years for sure.
Okay.
We
Yeah,
have
I
a
mean,
long way to go.
10,000 sounds, if you're at 1,500, 1,600 now, I feel like 10,000 is very achievable within 5 years. I've been in this industry for almost 20 years, and very few people surpass. There's a couple gates that people kind of jump through, which are difficult. There's 150 seats, which is really kind of like 0 to 150 is one gate, then 500 is the next gate, then it's 1,000. Then I think the next real barrier is 5,000. If you figured out how to run a 1,000 plus seat org, you can run a 5,000 seat org without that much difficulty. And then from 5, it's usually 50,000. So I think the next big barrier for you is 5. And
All right.
At your current growth rate, maybe you can hit that in the next 2 years, no problem whatsoever, and then bust right through that and hopefully go to 50, which is very exciting, by the way. 50,000 seaters is like rarefied earth.
I like your
industry.
optimism.
Hey, listen, sounds like you got a great business model right now. There are very, very few BPOs that have gone from essentially 0 to 1,600 in 3.5 years. Does not happen that often. Next question. What do you think the BPO industry needs to do differently? And I know you're probably going to say, treat your employees better and treat your culture better. That's probably the one that you have in your head. Why don't you give me another one, maybe your second thing that you think that the industry needs to do differently?
It's a tough one. I would say not be afraid of technology and AI. We've seen a lot of buzz this year, and I think if you don't leverage AI and you don't incorporate it as part of your business model, then you're going to have issues long term, because I think it's here to stay, and I think it's an industry that will continue to evolve. So don't be afraid of your business model shifting over the next couple of years due to AI, because there are other things that are going to come up that are going to be needed to outsource. So I think embrace AI, embrace technology.
Yeah, there was a really good quote that I heard on this podcast a few months ago, which was, AI will not replace you. Someone using AI will replace you.
Yeah,
So we
definitely.
need to be able to think about how we can adapt with this technology, not necessarily see it as competition. Because at the end of the day, if it's going to create a more efficient workforce, you're not going to stop that as an individual business owner, right? That's the wave that's coming over everybody. You need to realize, how can you ride that wave and hopefully become a lot more successful long term. Last question that I have for you is, and what we're really talking about when we're talking about the BPO industry, offshoring, nearshoring industry, is we're talking about work, right? The BPO industry actually employs more people than any other industry. Clear point, right? Like end of sentence. How do you see the future of work? And maybe let's talk about how that coalesces with artificial intelligence, because that's at the top of everyone's minds today. Where do you see work in the next 5 years? Do you think that we're going to see more people working at Hire Horatio, as an example, that are doing things that are completely alien to what you currently do today?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's tremendous potential for doing things differently and for doing new things. As I said, our motto is do what you do best and hire Horatio to do the rest. And so we're going to figure out what that rest is and continue pounding on that. And so it's very important to keep yourself updated with what's happening around you in terms of the future of work, and understand what are the next catalysts for change within whatever industry you're servicing. And so that's our philosophy, is not stay stagnant and continue to evolve as our industry evolves.
Got it.
The other thing that I would say is, obviously, we're seeing a lot of we're seeing a lot of people talk about work from home, and is that here to stay? Is that going to be 100% of the time? I don't see that. I think that the human aspect of work is very important. I think we're starting to see the negative implications of people that are 100% working at home. From a mental health standpoint, from a physical health standpoint, that is having a huge impact, and I think companies are starting to realize that. And what we're focusing on is making sure that we provide the right level or the right balance when it comes to remote versus in office work, and understanding what really drives this generation. I think you would be surprised, but the surveys that we've conducted is the younger generation actually wants the human connection. They actually want to be in office. I think it's the older generation, that has seen some value from having that flexible work-life balance. But at the end of the day, it's a job, and there are certain things that distract you from performing at optimal level, and we're seeing that.
Sure.
You see that translate into performance at the end of the day. If you work 100% remote, you're not going to give it your all, because there's going to be things in life that are going to get in your way that day.
I definitely would agree with you that work accountability is probably the biggest single factor that's going to affect the next few years. Because when we're seeing, like, the data is very clear that there's more remote work happening this quarter than there were 2 quarters ago. Remote work is actually going back up from its drop off, and it's projected to be 50% of the US workforce by 2030. It sits right now at about 32%. And when you see that type of increase, accountability is absolutely critical. So how can you actually keep those workers accountable? Doesn't really seem to be a conversation that we're having right now. It's a conversation that I want to be able to have as much as possible, because if you want to have sustainable remote work, you need to be able to have accountability be a central part of that conversation. And it sounds like you guys are taking a different yet very close road in that context.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for taking the time. Appreciate it. I think this is a really interesting conversation, particularly around your perspective on culture. For people that want to be able to get more information about hirehoratio.com, whereabouts should they go, or even just asking you a question?
Yeah, they can reach out to us, as you mentioned, at hirehoratio.com, or I have my Instagram handle or through LinkedIn. So I'm Jose.Horatio on Instagram. And also you can find us on LinkedIn. So happy to chat with anyone that's interested in learning more about Horatio.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And for anyone else that's still listening, again, just check out timedoctor.com or runningremote.com. We're there to be able to help you as well. Other than that, thanks a lot, and we will see you in the next one.